Hello, my name is Jim Sealer, and this is my oral presentation of my research paper, The Struggles of an Esports Career. The question, do esports leagues cause mental illness in its players, came to me. Why? Because I already had an interest in prior knowledge of the league, and I wanted to have an interest in what I was researching. These players' struggles have been brought forward in video interviews to me, regardless of doing my research, as I'm already a fan of the league, and I wanted to use my paper to highlight the struggle of what seemed to be a perfect profession. The how, I already mentioned the how, is that these players were seen in interviews with their struggles, dealing with them, and I wanted to use my paper to highlight the unforeseen struggle of an esports player. My thesis statement. Although esports is a newly grown platform, cases of mental instability are sprouting as a symptom of growing pains, and the wounds highlight an unforeseen struggle of players from the past 2 decades wishing to live out their dream on the main stage. My thesis references all dimensions of my essay before even defining what an esport really is. The 2 dimensions of that being the time aspect of 2 decades and how much has really changed within that span of time, from being a non-profitable career, which players lived in unluxurious conditions for no prizes, to a career that, gives them a house in California with a salary to work for. Excuse me. And a lot has changed over the past few decades, and there seemed to be a struggle that's still going on, referencing the second part of my thesis, the growing pains and the wounds that are still there, seen in the career today. My first supporting detail, this references the countless hours spent in front of a screen can leave an individual isolated for hours. Despite this, the time spent practicing is necessary, as pros spend around 8 to 12 hours practicing daily. These players have to stay on top of their game, and all of their practice is absolutely necessary to do so, playing with their team and playing with themselves to stay on top. And this can leave them isolated with bad sleep habits and not talking to anyone, and this just overall isolates a player that's seemingly just focused on one thing, their career. The second supporting detail I talk about is the real world aspect making its way into these gamers' lives, as real world players recognize these professionals online during games and make them targets for trolling and hate. The real world factor who begin to recognize these players target them to make their lives worse, seemingly for a joke. And this is mainly just to get a kick while they're online, and this overall affects the player mentally in a number of ways, in which they could get hate in voice, in text, or off screen.